guy in the 80s, slick back hair.
Goldthwait.
No, the not Sam Kinison. He's the guy with the mutton chops. He had his own movie.
Oh, the cable, Larry the Cable Guy.
Hickory.
I do not know who you speak of.
Your old buddy Ernest.
He died.
Oh, Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh yeah,
he's still around. He made a comeback.
Yeah, he still has.
He was gone for years, or out of the public spotlight for years. He made a concerted effort to make a comeback.
Now he looks like a scone with appendages now.
A scone?
Yeah,
really?
Like a scone.
What flavor?
Shatner, probably.
Shatner.
How can you look like a scone? A scone is like lumpy flour.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, ma'am. What I'm referring to. No, he's fine. Whatever. We all get old. I'm not complaining. It's fine. No,
we all get lumpy and flour-like.
I love a good scone.
I like a good scone as well.
I do too. A cherry scone.
Honey on it though.
So good.
Warm honey.
The chainsaws are back.
Oh no.
Oh, we can't
chopping trees.
If you can't hear it, I'm leaving the window open because it's too stuffy in here, but it was really loud this morning.
I needed to come up with a word for pie in an alien culture for a book that I'm working on for NaNoWriMo. So I called them
like actual pie, like
food?
like
pie, like a fruit pie, right?
All right.
So I called them stuffers.
Oh. Okay.
So that's the alien language, or is that just a
no? It's all English. It's not going that deep. It's just, everybody's speaking English. We're not even acknowledging that. But this guy who knows them as pie in the translation of his language shows up and calls them pie. And in this culture, they're like, pie, what's that? Like, oh, you mean stuffers. More of a cultural difference than a linguistic difference.
Do we care if Peter Thiel sold all of his remaining stake in Facebook?
Yes. It's 1:30 though.
I know. I'm sorry.
No,
all right.
Need control.
This came in 6 minutes ago.
I will toss it to you because I have learned to pay attention to these things. I will if you want to just put a link online.
Well, hold on a second. The Reuters article says most of their
most is very different. Most is very different.
3/4 of his remaining stake in the social network, but he's still on the board.
Put the link on line 13.
Okay.
And then let's start off with a few tech things you should know, including what did Peter Thiel do, Sarah?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right. You guys ready?
Yep.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Darn you, news breaking at 1:30. You stop that. All right, here we go. 3, 2. It's not right. Here we go. Darn you, Tom. 3, 2.
Hello, all you beautiful people. The Daily Tech News Show is brought to you by you. You can find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com. And we thank you for your support.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, November 22nd, 2017 from DTNS headquarters in Los Angeles. I'm Tom Merritt.
And from Studio Feline, I am Sarah Lane.
And from the Rocky Mountain headquarters of I Wish I Knew I Was Playing Animal Crossing Pocket Camp Players, I'm Scott Johnson.
Wow. That's a hell of a name for your headquarters there. You know what? I installed Animal Crossing and then forgot about it. So I'm kind of the opposite of you. Also with us today is the birthday boy, turning 21 yet again, Mr. Roger Chang.
Yes, 21.
Happy birthday!
Thank you. I've been 21 for the past 21 years.
Okay, that's kind of a giveaway if you can do math, but none of us can do math, so you're safe. Let's start with a few tech things you should know. What's Peter Thiel doing, Sarah?
Well, he's selling most of his Facebook stake, turns out. This is news from just a couple of minutes ago, so we'll probably get more information in tomorrow's. Well, we're not going to have a show tomorrow. Okay, we'll save it for Monday. But apparently he sold 3/4 of his remaining stake in Facebook as part of a previously established trading plan, which is basically worth $1 billion worth of money.
Yeah.
Now, he's on the board of Facebook, so it remains to be seen whether or not that signals him leaving the company entirely.
Yeah. Is he losing confidence or just cashing out? That's the question.
One does not know.
Demand Progress, Fight for the Future, and Free Press Action Fund have called for people to protest at Verizon stores on December 7th about the FCC's proposed changes to the open internet guidelines. Of course, December 7th, also Pearl Harbor Day. But the reason they picked it apparently is because it's exactly a week before the FCC is scheduled to vote on the changes on December 14th.
California Department of Motor Vehicles has given ride-hailing company Lyft a permit to test self-driving cars on public roads. The California DMV previously granted permits to Uber, also to Waymo, who's sort of a rival and a partner of Lyft at this point, and then some car makers like Mercedes-Benz, Tesla, and Ford.
Apple scientists posted a research paper with Archive, spelled ARXIV. Yeah, I know. I thought that too. Detailing how much an approach called VoxelNet helps self-driving cars identify 3D objects like cyclists and pedestrians using fewer sensors. I love that cyclists and pedestrians are considered 3D objects. Anyway, VoxelNet improves the ability for LiDAR systems to detect objects from a distance without help from a camera. The experiments were limited to computer simulations and not actual road tests.
How many 2D pedestrians do you know?
I know that we're all in 3D, but to be referred to as a 3D object instead of just a cyclist or whatever is a little weird.
Well, because it can identify all 3D objects, right?
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
They can call it what they want.
Here's some more top stories. Uber told Bloomberg that hackers stole the personal data of 57 million customers and drivers from the company back in October 2016. I always have a problem calling this stole. It's more like they copied it. It's not like they took it off and now it's not there. But they have it, and that's bad. Uber fired its chief security officer, Joe Sullivan, and one of his deputies for keeping the hack a secret, including the fact that they had paid $100,000 to delete the data and keep it secret. Names, email addresses, phone numbers of users were divulged. Names, email addresses, phone numbers, and driver's licenses of some drivers were part of the breach. Uber says that no social security numbers, no credit card numbers, and perhaps most importantly, no trip history data was copied. New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman launched an investigation into the attack, and a class action lawsuit is being pursued as well. We talked about this like right at the end of the post show yesterday because it was just breaking right then.
So I got a question. It's a rhetorical one. Is there now a worse story that can come out about Uber? Because, we had this like story after story after story, and it seemed like it was never going to get any better and it would only get worse. And then after a while, you're like, okay, well, we're probably good. Then this thing drops. And admittedly, it happened at a time when all the other stuff was having its own brand of fallout. But man, this is a bad thing. Like maybe the baddest of things that have come out of Uber lately.
Let me tell you why this is a good thing.
Okay.
It's a good thing because Derek Khosrowshahi hired someone to investigate security at Uber once he took over as CEO. They found out about this hack, divulged it publicly. This is Uber turning the corner. And this is them saying, you know what? We're looking into our bad laundry and we're going to find it all. And we're going to get it out there. We're going to make it public. We're going to make it transparent. And we're going to do better from now on. So this is an example of Uber fixing something, even though back in October 2016, it's an example of Uber once again doing something horrible.
Yeah.
Well, or not wanting to have so much bad press because they had so much other bad press. Also, I mean, it's not the first company to be like, okay, we had an issue a couple years ago and we didn't say anything.
Certainly,
but with Uber, people are less likely to forgive something that seems kind of underhanded.
Yeah, and Yahoo, I don't think paid anybody $100,000 to keep it secret. They sort of just forgot to say it. So I do think this is nasty, but again, the person involved has been fired. They're cleaning up their mess. So I think it's a good thing for Uber going forward.
Well, you may or may not think this is a good thing. Facebook will roll out a new tool for U.S. users to check if they followed or liked pages and accounts on Facebook or Instagram, which of course Facebook owns, from Russian organizations like the Internet Research Agency that are believed to have links to the Russian government. The company announced the tool on Wednesday, and it'll show if a user directly followed an account or page. But if you're looking at your news feed and it's something that a friend liked or whatever, you can't use the tool. So it has to be something that you were pretty in direct connection with. So I'd like to know.
But yeah, I mean, I guess I'd like to know. I don't like very many things on Facebook unless it's friends or family, and I know they're not associated necessarily with stuff like that. But I'm trying to think what this does. I think it just tells people that does it just send this message of you were dumb enough to click on a Russian propaganda link? Well done.
It's Facebook responding to so many people saying Facebook ruined the election. Facebook's, changing our minds and behaviors, and we don't know what's going on. And so it's kind of a goodwill thing more than anything that's going to change the way Facebook works, at least in my opinion.
I could see that. I just wonder if it wouldn't be better data, or maybe they're already working on giving us this, or maybe this will help them give us this. But it would be nice to see how many likes and how many shares and all that kind of stuff happened on the links we know are verified to come from those sources. Like that is a more macro piece of data is more interesting to me than knowing that my mom clicked on one. I mean,
well, this is not about you knowing about your mom. This is about, I think what you nailed it first, which is this is about you being a person who's not as conversant with this stuff as you are, being told like, hey, you may not have realized it, but that thing you liked, yeah, it comes from here. So you might want to reevaluate that or not. That's up to you.
Well, actually, now that you say that, maybe I do. Because what if I clicked on a thing that was just two stupid cats or whatever, but it turns out it was coming from one of these things that were trying to lull me into sort of following that feed.
One of the cats was Marco Rubio, and the other cat was
sure. So yeah, I'm coming around on it a little bit, but it does seem like a strange. It's a little weird, right? To say here's all the stuff. I don't know. I worry that people might even be afraid to use this tool because they don't want to be.
Well, I think that's a good point. It's something where I can say, well, that's why not have the tool? People should be more informed. But if you feel stupid to have been duped into maybe something that you didn't think you thought you were clicking on something else, oftentimes people don't really want to hear that.
Yeah.
Well, I still think it's better for them to know than not know. That way they may not make the same mistake next time.
Totally.
Well, I like to be ignorant. Just kidding. Hey, TechCrunch reports that Apple acquired Canadian startup Vervana. What did I say?
Like Nirvana with a V.
Oh, yeah. Vervana. Okay. Even worse than I thought. Anyway, makers of an AR headset called Totem, which has never shipped. I remember hearing about Totem a while back. Apple declined to comment or deny the sale, but some of Vervana's employees have joined Apple in California and Vervana's social accounts, and news went dark back in August. Their camera-based AR approach differs from Microsoft's HoloLens by using several forward-facing cameras to pass through vision of the real world to OLED displays while overlaying fully opaque true color animations on top. Who knows if this ends up in Apple's hands or not, if all this stuff can be confirmed, but that does sound like a thing Apple would want. They would be sticklers for not wanting the kind of weird transparent HoloLens thing. After using that, I think it's cool as heck, but I'm not so much down with the effect that it uses. This seems like a very Apple thing to be looking for in whatever their AR strategy is. So who knows? That's a small thing, but I'm very interested to see if they are A, buying this, and B, they do anything with it.
Yeah, it does sound like they're buying it, even though, Apple a lot of times does not reveal their acquisitions anyway. So I think TechCrunch usually is these days really good at verifying this before they report it. So I'm going to give it a 90+% confidence that this has actually happened. And I think it's exactly what I would expect from Apple, which is we've given you a headset that's not AR or VR. It's both. And this is where I've seen AR going. This is what I've been talking about for years, which is I think we end up with AR winning because AR has the possibility of doing VR. And this is the kind of technology that can give you the sort of deep blacks that can turn your AR into VR. Their big challenge is getting the lag down. Can you make those camera pass through less than the amount of perception in your brain of lag? Right now, I think they say they've got it down to about 3 milliseconds, which is small, but it still could be enough, especially if you're using it in an enterprise situation. Forget about gaming and lag there, which is also a problem. But I'm doing a really precise maneuver here, and the AR is guiding me. I need to have my hands pulled out of the thing at exactly the right moment, and all of that.
Yeah.
Well, and I know people like to overanalyze everything Tim Cook says, but it would kind of makes sense that he's been critical of AR and VR technology, but also excited about AR and VR technology as far as the future of Apple is concerned. And I can just hear him on stage being like, true blacks, no one else can do that.
Yeah.
It's very Apple of them.
Yeah, exactly my point. I think that this, from what the description is, that's the kind of tech they'd be interested. But I 100% agree with Tom. I think that AR, VR, mixed reality, whatever you want to call it, is the future. It's more, it's just more practical. Like straight up, there's more you can do with it. The idea that AR by itself or VR by itself are going to be the big winners here. If anything, if we lived in a vacuum, you could only have one or the other. I think AR wins out anyway. So, this is a step towards something in the middle, and I think that's probably Apple's best bet.
Breaking news once again in the continuing story of what will Peter Thiel do with all his money. Beatmaster sent us this link in the chat room just now. Lawyers for Peter Thiel filed a motion in court Wednesday to challenge a provision that prevented him from buying the assets of Gawker.com.
What? He's the guy who shut it down.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Maybe there's more to it now.
There's an ongoing sale process for Gawker as part of the bankruptcy proceedings, and he has been excluded from the bidding assets as part of that situation because of what you said, Sarah, about him suing them. And so they're filing a motion. So maybe that's what he needs the money for. I don't know.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's weird, isn't it? It's like me. I don't know. What's that like? That's like, it's like me having a bad experience at McDonald's and then I go buy that franchise just to spite everybody. I don't know.
It also, I mean, Gawker had plenty of criticism from people, rightly so, for being mean-spirited, but I read it. It was gossipy, and there were sometimes breaking stories there too. Peter Thiel owning Gawker would be a very different Gawker. It wouldn't be like, oh, we've resurrected this blog that people used to like.
And don't forget, it's IO9 and Lifehacker. I mean, we're talking about Gawker Media. It's not just Gawker's site. We're talking about Gizmodo, like all of, he would run all of those. And I still love IO9 and Lifehacker quite a bit.
What if he started a new wrestling federation?
What?
Hold on. Hear me out here. He starts it with Hulk Hogan. So we branded around Hulk Hogan since that.
Okay.
He's got the Hulk Hogan experience where he backed his lawyering to win that case against Gawker, which put Gawker in the toilet and made them have to do bankruptcy proceedings. Like maybe the whole plan is just to live out his dream to be the next runner of a very successful wrestling federation.
I mean, that theory is no weirder than anything I could come up with. So
yeah, no,
right.
Exactly. News website VTM reported that Belgium's Minister of Justice Keen Geens says he will try to ban the process of blind randomized loot boxes from being used in games. The same story also quoted the Belgium Gaming Commission as saying that money plus addiction equals gambling, which for some reason a bunch of people took to mean that the Belgian Gaming Commission had decided that loot boxes were gambling. That's not what they wrote in a translation or not, but what is true is the Belgium Gaming Commission has been investigating whether loot boxes are gambling. They've said, here's what gambling is, and they've said, we're looking into loot boxes. They have not said, and we think loot boxes are gambling yet. We're waiting on them to make that decision. However, this is a common issue. It came up in Hawaii, where there's some legislation that's being pursued. It's come up in the Victoria state in Australia. Because the Gaming Commission there said, yeah, loot boxes do look like they're gambling. That doesn't mean they're illegal gambling, and it's not for us to say. There's a senator in France who wrote a letter about this. So this is becoming something that's getting a lot of attention worldwide. I don't think loot boxes are gambling. I personally define gambling differently than some of these places, apparently differently than Australia. To me, gambling is money that I bet, and if I win, I get more money. Loot boxes are like blind box toys. Like I spend something to get a thing, and maybe I get a thing that's more valuable than another thing. But that to me isn't gambling. That feels like a raffle or something.
So loot boxes and I know everyone's probably loot boxed out over the last couple of weeks because this has been on the minds of many people in tech and gaming, obviously. But loot boxes are a little bit weird in a couple of ways. One, let's say you're the Blizzard Entertainments of the world, and loot boxes to you are not things you buy with real money, or when you do, you buy them in bulk and then you open them all up. If you are earning them through gameplay, no one's questioning that. I don't think.
Yeah, we're not talking about that. We're talking about real money.
But it's when you spend, let's say I spend $10 and I get 5 loot boxes, and then I go to open those loot boxes. That should be no different, lawfully anyway, than, like you said, me walking into a store and saying I'm going to buy 5 of these Futurama figure packs, and I don't know which Futurama character is in them, but boy, I sure hope I get Zoidberg this time. And I go home and I open them, and all 5 of them are things I already had. Whoop, too bad. I spent my money. I bought a product, hoped for something that was in them, and it wasn't in there. If they ever get to a point where any of these investigations, and it's important to note, these are investigations, not actions against anything. This is just people looking into it. I think that's fine and good. That's why these organizations exist. You know, there's no harm in that, but I don't think we ever get to a point where somebody goes, no, hold on a minute, this must be gambling, because if that happens, then you're slippery sloping down to everything else that's like this that you'll now have to call gambling in the real world, in the digital world, and beyond. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Intel issued a security alert that management firmware on a number of its recent Intel PCs and servers and Internet of Things processor platforms are indeed vulnerable to unauthorized access. So most of these vulnerabilities discovered require actual physical access to a machine, but one could be conducted remotely if the attacker gains admin privileges. So that's obviously pretty dangerous. The vulnerabilities affected several chipsets going back to 2015, including core processors from Skylake Forward, multiple Xeon lines, 2 Atom embedded platforms, and mobile processors. The company posted a detection tool on its support website for Windows and Linux to help people identify if they have a vulnerable system. The company also, though, is directing users to check for firmware updates from the computer's manufacturer itself.
Yeah, and several of the manufacturers have said they've got their firmware ready for update, so keep an eye on that. It's a bad vulnerability, but it's not a panic level vulnerability. Like, somebody has to get physical access for most of this to work. Even the remote one, they'd have to figure out how to hack in and get admin access to your computer, which at that point they've kind of owned your computer anyway, but it's not good and you want to patch it. So do that.
Nobody likes system level security and vulnerability issues, because they're a lot harder than just a Windows update being pushed to your mom and saying you need to update Windows because there's a security flaw or whatever. This is very different than that and takes some real hoop jumping. And what you end up with is so many more computers that are just out there that have never been updated. You can't force this kind of firmware change in a lot of cases. So yeah, this one's a real bummer, but I'm surprised it actually doesn't happen more often. I'm surprised we don't have chip level problems like this in the news. But
hey folks, if you want to get all the tech headlines each day in about 5 minutes, be sure to subscribe to dailytechheadlines.com. All right. Yesterday, right before the show, was it right before the show? Yeah, it was right before the show. We discussed whether to talk about HQ, the trivia game show app hosted by Scott Rogowski, because there was a story, Sarah, that he was going to be fired because he got interviewed by the Daily Beast.
Yeah, we actually had a full show yesterday, but it's getting enough attention that we decided to talk about it today. HQ is a wildly popular app. It's a trivia app. It's also live, and it's hosted by this guy, Scott. We'll just call him Scott from now on. And he's, a comedian, and he's funny, and it's really him saying, here's a question. Here are your 3 options. Pick one. So it's like any game show. There's nothing super novel about it except the fact that it's live, and it also pushes out a notification about 10 minutes before each show. 2 a day on weekdays, 1 on the weekends, so like 12 shows a week. Which, once I was watching it, I was like, this doesn't really have to be live, but apparently it is. And I guess that's why people like it a lot. It's pulling in more than 100,000 simultaneous viewers each episode. So that's pretty good clip. Now, if you get every question right, you split a cash prize pool that they tell you beforehand. So I played a quiz at noon today, and the cash prize was $1,000. So you're not going to get $1,000. You're going to split it up with a bunch of people. But if you connect your PayPal account to the app, you get money.
So you can get real money out of this thing. That's a difference too.
You're earning money rather than giving money to the app. And this is where this whole thing gets interesting, because there was an article on Daily Beast that was profiling, hey, this is a really popular app, blah, blah, blah. Now, this app was founded by a guy named Russ Yesipov and Colin Krell. They co-created Vine back in 2012, so they've been at this app thing for a while. Daily Beast profiles Scott, that's the host. He talks about like how happy he is to be, the host. And apparently, a couple hours later, Yusupov, who's also the CEO, called the reporter's cell phone, said, you can't run the story. You can't talk about Scott. You should have gone through our PR channels. Daily Beast says, well, it's done. We did it. Then Yusupov says, specifically that he took issue with the quote that Scott, the host, made that said, "Despite the attention, I still want to walk down the street and order my favorite salad from Sweet Green without being accosted." Sweet Green, popular chain here in LA and maybe beyond. I don't know. I've had it here in LA. It's very good salad.
Apparently in New York too, because that's where Scott Rogowski.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. He said he was from Bakersfield in the app today, but I guess
Originally,
that was
yeah.
a joke that I didn't get. Now, Daily Beast says, too bad, and this isn't off the record because you said that too late too. There was a subsequent phone call where apparently the CEO and then the host both said, we never claimed that Scott would be fired if you ran that story. But Daily Beast says, no, that's what the CEO said several times. And we have it on record because he didn't say off the record until too late. Now, it's kind of interesting to me because on one hand, you go, oh, this is just like a passive aggressive, weird CEO who doesn't like his host to do stuff without his knowledge. But it sheds more light on how HQ wants to make money because they don't want somebody dropping a brand name, Sweet Green, the salad place would be an example of that, without having some integration where HQ is getting money from the brand to be a cash prize that people get, say. So it's kind of an interesting, and it's sort of it's a story sort of about a crazy CEO who went off the rails.
Yeah.
But it's more about how apps are being creative about generating revenue.
So the Vine co-founders have an app that has a really like niche celebrity in Scott Rogowski, who can walk down the street, but occasionally is asked to do selfies, and he's not allowed to say where he eats his salad. Do I have the story right?
HQ takes issue with that because they don't have a brand deal with Sweet Green.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I get it. Like, first of all, like I wonder, but speaking of gambling, like how do they get away giving you money? I'm curious about that. But also, how do they giving you money when there's no visible advertisements? You don't pay for the app. The app is free. It would have to be some kind of product placement or question placement. Once the questions for Chipotle start showing up, then I'll understand. Like, oh, okay, I get it now.
It seems to me, I was thinking about this too. I mean, they have a bunch of venture capital money. They may have said, okay, let's bleed out some money to get people super into this app. And then gradually everything turns into a product prize, more like Wheel of Fortune. Well, I guess Wheel of Fortune has changed its stance on that. But the way that they used to, give away a mattress or something.
Gift certificate, stuff
Yeah.
like yeah. I have my problem with HQ is that I don't like to have notifications on for things. So by default, I just say no. When I said no to this, that meant I never got the notification 10 minutes before it came because I don't know how often this thing's going to notify me or whatever. And so I missed the 12 o'clock test. I didn't get a chance to experience it. And there's not another one till 6 o'clock. And yet this has become like super popular in certain communities, mostly in the developer community.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting about two things you said there seem counter to where all of this has been heading for years. The fact that we seem to not care so much about live events, or we haven't in recent years. Everything's sort of on demand, whether it's television, outside of sporting events, it's kind of across the board. On demand is the way to go. And this flies in the face of that. It's like, nope, it's set times. You got to be there or else you're out of luck or whatever. So that already is weird to me. And then the second thing with sort of the point of the story, why they're being so fishy about his ability to say what he's doing or where he is or walk out on the street or any of this stuff also seems counter to just the kind of fun, loose sort of thing they're trying to make here, where it's a good time, everybody. And these seem like weird things to get hung up on. So I find the whole thing a bit of cognitive dissonance kind of coded in the whole thing. And I don't know why that's happening, but hey, congratulations. I wish I could tune in at the times you're doing this, but it's kind of hard for me for the same reason Tom mentioned. And I just think it's a little bit weird. So apparently these guys have got their finger on the pulse and understand that the society's swinging back to live events in a way that none of us would have predicted. So I guess
it's the pub quiz in your pocket.
I only participated in one go around today. The questions are, about pop culture and actresses and, TV shows and stuff where it's like, it's a certain kind of trivia. It's a fun, let's all play it at work, at noon when we're about to take our lunch break anyway type thing. I don't see this being more than a flavor of the month app in like all apps that are super popular for a while are.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be like, I can't always play at noon, or I can't always play at 6, or I forgot, or I don't like notifications anymore, or these questions are stupid, or I never get enough money. That's
just a couple of reasons. Just a couple. BioCow in the chat room says there's a group of Diamond Club people who meet in Discord to play each game together. So there's already like subgroups gathering around it.
Yeah, there's some Frog Panthers doing that. There's a lot of people doing it. I feel like I'm missing the boat somehow, but I don't know. Maybe our discussion today will drive me back in there. Now I'm just really curious about why they're so weird about their people. That part still is a little bit of a mystery to me, but I
really don't think the CEO cared that he didn't want to be accosted walking down the street. He cared that he dropped the name of a restaurant that they don't have a relationship with.
Yeah.
I get, but to what end? Like, I don't know. So what? They ate there. It's fine. Everyone eats everywhere. Eat.
Well, no, not if you're paid to eat somewhere else.
Well, okay. All right. In that case, yes. I'd like to know where they're paid to eat then.
Yeah, not anywhere yet, but they don't want to wreck any potential deals.
Sure.
Thanks to everybody who participates in our subreddit. You can submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com, and in our Facebook group. I put up a little poll today about which topics are you not tired of hearing about at facebook.com/groups/Daily Tech News Show. Sarah, what do we got in our mailbag?
This is from someone who signed the mailbag person who works in the industry. So we'll just leave it at that. And this is in reference to, was it yesterday's show? We were talking about, whether or not the internet is broken and what we can do about it. Person who works in the industry says, what people don't understand, this is all about the local loops, the backbones. Don't give preference to anyone. It's the homes. The fight over who gets to lay fiber or copper or coax to your house or work. The internet isn't broken. The way you get it is.
Yeah. So it's not the internet, it's those people who deliver it to your homes, which goes to my opinion that if we had multiple people for you to choose from delivering it to your home, that might help take some of the pressure off. Hey, thank you, Scott Johnson, for joining us as always. What do you got going on these days?
Oh man, I don't know. There's just all this holiday stuff coming up, but I am part of the annual cover-thon that Brian Ibbett does every weekend. He wishes it was every weekend. Every year on the weekend of Thanksgiving, where he earns money for a charity he does for Alzheimer's research. And once again, we're part of it this year. If you don't know what that thing's about, check it out at coverville.com. There'll be details there. You'll get a live morning stream with me and Brian. You'll get a live film sack. I know you're going to be there for some stuff that day as well.
I sure am.
It's all super cool. So if you're looking for a good stream this weekend with a bunch of Frog Panthers and fellow podcasters and fun times for a good cause, check that all out at coverville.com. Oh, and I'm at Scott Johnson on Twitter. You can find me there.
Thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon. The weekly column for associate producer level and up is out early. It's a longer version of the encryption discussion from yesterday. If you want links and a little more explanation or something you can share with people who don't understand encryption, you can pass that along. And of course, it always has the news summary for the week. So that's out a little bit earlier this week. You can get that and all kinds of cool rewards at patreon.com/DTNS.
And we love your feedback. In fact, I want to give you our email address. feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com is how you can write to us. We're live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 21:30 UTC at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And our website is dailytechnewsshow.com.
Just Daily Tech headlines in your feed on Thanksgiving and Black Friday because of the holidays here in the U.S. We'll be back on Monday with Tom McLeod on the future of warehousing and logistics. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Two Toms on one show, Monday.
Whoa. Sheesh. That's pretty good.
Oh, how will I keep you straight?
Is it a GPS device or is it a spin-off from the Talking Heads?
Go.
The Tom Tom Club. What was their song? I don't remember what it was.
I don't either.
I want to say Dead Man's Party, but that's Oingo Boingo, isn't it?
I appreciate
you can never ever reference that group to Danny Elfman again.
Now you're
It's
in
like
trouble.
he has a mental block. Titles. Hashtag free Scott. Roger knows the meaning of life, the universe, and everything. Uberly bad press again. Uber leak. Peter let it go. That'd be great if he was in the dress that what's her name wears. Oh crap. I can't. I'm totally having a brain fart. I
The
cannot
Frozen
remember that.
girl.
No, but
Right?
there's a with
Isn't
yes,
that the name of the song?
Anna
That song
is her
everybody
sister.
likes?
Yes, Anna's their sister.
Elsa.
Elsa. How could I not? I see that every day.
Yeah.
Probably another mental block. Toss began because of salad. Peter Thiel loses face. AI gets a lift. How many 2D pedestrians do you know? Uber gives hackers a lift. Thiel the heel. I like that one. Firing by popular demand. The Helsinki Accords question, though. The internet isn't broken. It's the pipes that are broken. 1 billion worth of money, not in AR or VR. HQ's Trivia's CEO, crazy executive officer. HQ Trivia, is it a fad?
I forgot. 1 billion worth of money. It makes it sound like a lot more money than a billion.
1 billion worth of money. 1 billion what? $1 billion?
Yeah.
1 billion Zimbabwe dollars, which is what, like $20 US?
Something
I
like
don't think they have their own currency right now, do they?
Oh, who's are they using?
They just use foreign currency,
Oh,
mostly US dollars. Yeah,
I feel like that's a good long-term plan, but no. All right.
they do that in Turks and Caicos Islands. Actually, they're just like with them. It's that we're so small. We're just like most of our tourists are from the US.
Yeah.
Might as well just use it.
Because Turks and Caicos is a UK dependency. You'd think they'd use some kind of version of the pound.
The British Virgin Islands, they also use it. I mean, I think they co-use the US dollar, like they accept it. Because, well, where are you closer to? Any one of you folks have
I mean, we did break into the show twice to talk about Peter Thiel. So Peter Thiel loses face is okay.
I like Peter Thiel loses face if we can put book in parentheses.
Down.
Because, well,
sounds good.
Or do I? Okay, did he lose face though?
He didn't lose anything yet.
Yeah, he doesn't really lose it.
He doesn't lose face.
Peter Thiel sells face. And then out of context, you're like, he sold his face.
What?
How about Peter Thiel, sue high, buy low?
Oh.
I mean, it's not in there, but
That's it's kind of what he might be doing. We don't know that that's what he's doing.
Oh, that's what he's doing.
You think that's what he's doing?
Based on my uninformed opinion, Tom, that's what he's doing.
Which we don't have enough of on the internet these days.
Yeah, I agree. More of that.
Too much factual information and carefully referenced data points.
I mean, pretty much everybody is just pointing to that one BuzzFeed article, so we don't really know what's going on.
Oh, and Nth Mike says that according to the BuzzFeed article, it's only Gawker that he would be trying to buy, in their opinion, not Gizmodo Media Group. Because Gizmodo Media Group's part of Univision.
Oh, it would explain why it's the content hasn't.
Which really makes it seem more like I'm going to get you back, because Gawker itself was what he took issue with because they ran a story about him that he didn't appreciate.
No, for sure. So you were right. I was wrong to bring in all those other names because they're not part of it.
Jeez, Tom, how dare you?
I know.
How much money for spite?
How much money for spite? Yeah, it does feel spiteful. I mean, I don't know. He may have other reasons, but it's weird to me.
I mean, Gawker is one of those. I mean, I've read stuff on Gawker in the past, where I'm like, God, what are they doing? Like just bad gossips at times, it makes you feel dirty. So it's like, on one hand, it's hard to side too much with Nick Dutton and his crew, but Peter Thiel is,
I like
Peter
Thiel
Thiel.
unbooks his face.
Where's that?
That just got submitted by Nth Mike.
So it says he's selling a bunch of his stake, but how much does that leave him? It doesn't say, does it?
It does not, but if it's 3/4 of what he has, and that 3/4 is worth about $1 billion, more math.
Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of money still.
I mean, he'd still own a lot of money worth of Facebook stock.
Yeah. Enough for any normal person to just live their whole life out.
He's not a normal person.
Yeah, I mean, whether or not he stays on the board is significant. And also, you know, Facebook has been pretty sort of like, you know, we're sure he's a board member, but we're not really getting involved in this whole thing of the news that he was involved with the whole Kogan and Gawker and all that stuff over the last couple of years. It would seem that, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe they'll have to say something.
Now that I know that he's just after Gawker and not Gizmodo Media, which I was like, didn't they get bought by Univision? I thought that was all done. So yeah, that makes more sense. This is the danger of breaking news.
If you're a billionaire and you buy, if he just wants Gawker.net, I mean, it would be kind of funny if all he did was, let's say he spent $100 million on it because that's nothing to him. And he just made like a parked URL with like a mean face on it or something. You know, like he could totally just troll these guys if he wanted.
Yeah, but what's the point? Like, at what point? Like, it's like the law of diminishing returns. I mean, I guess if you hold a grudge that long, but
well, that's the question. If he does, then I get it. If he doesn't, I think this is weird. It's weird if he has that kind of grudge. I'm not saying that that's a great thing to have, but at least it would justify this in a weird way. If he's got,
I just want to just go to Disney World for a couple
we
of
spend
weeks.
too much more time talking about this. We're turning into the grudge report.
Oh,
Full of puns today.
pretty good
Today.
Yeah, today. His lifetime.
More than usual.
So what are we going with?
Oh, I already put it in.
Thiel unbooks his face.
Thiel unbooks his face. Yeah.
Face space.
Hard not to like that one. That one's pretty
Facebook
great.
gawking. A question for you, Scott, about the 28th, but I can ask later.
You can ask now. What's the 28th? That's Wednesday, right?
Oh, no, it's a Tuesday.
Oh, hold on.
Are you doing any of your
28th, you say?
What was that sound? That it sounded like the sound that the voice recognition software makes when I'm on hold.
Oh, like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Let's see. Oh, I have a full thing that goes up till about 3.
Ooh, perfect. What do you have at 3?
Well, 3 my time, which is an
2
hour
our time.
Yeah. 2 your time. Wait, no, that's not right. Hold on. 12:30. That usually goes till about 3. Yeah, about 3 my time, which is about an hour later than you would want me here. I could.
Well, hold on. No, I don't think it is. Roger, you're asking him about something that's at 3 our time, which would be 4 his time.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, what is it? Like the prediction thing or something?
Yeah, for 28. I would want to know if you wanted to be part of it. The 28.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I can do that because this thing ends right when that would start, so we could do that.
Cool.
Right now, I'll put me in as well. DTNS.
One of the questions, I meant to tell you guys, one of the questions in HQ was what animal is illegal to have as a pet in California? And I got it right.
The answer is a cat.
No, the answer is a ferret, Tom.
I just said
ferret was what we were looking for.
I said ferret 3 times. Do I not get a nickel of the $1,000?
You have to get all the questions right, and you have to play the game.
Because I got one wrong and so many other people were getting all of them right. So I just had to like watch the rest of the game and not play.
What if Watson became self-aware and this is what he did on his spare time?
Yes, what then?
What then? We've created the ultimate in artificial intelligence and it plays game shows.
I still can't figure out why it's so important that the show is live. If it's pushed out to everybody at the same time,
It's
then it's
because
going
the
to feel live,
reactions.
and everyone's going to see it at the same time anyway.
No,
I
think
have a thought on that.
Okay.
My thought is, if you make it live, it becomes an event. It's different than every other quiz. Otherwise, it's just like every other quiz app that's ever been. And you have an engaging host that people like, then they want to feel part of something. That's like, ooh, I'm competing against somebody right now, right? That's the element of it. It's that competition, that feeling that you're in a real thing that's happening right at that moment.
Oh.
And you can't go back and replay it later. Like, you have to be there live to play it. Because that was the part that hit me, is like, there's nothing to do in this app if the show isn't live. But I think that's what they're going for, is like, yeah, that's why you have to be here live.
No, I get that. I mean, why does the company have to do it that way? They could just bank a bunch of episodes and then push them out whenever they wanted.
I think
I see what you're saying.
I wonder if maybe
Because I was listening for like, I'm sorry, Roger, to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just saying maybe they had some plan where he would interact with one or a few of the.
He doesn't, though. At least not right now. He also, there were a couple times where you're like, oh, he stumbled on the teleprompter. Okay, this feels sort of live. But he also, I was listening for specific references of like something that happened today where it like proved that it wasn't pre-recorded. But there wasn't really any of that either.
It said in the Daily Beast article that he gives shout outs to people in the stream.
He did. That's true. He did. But it's like, there's thousands of people in there. You could kind of just like fake it.
You could fake that. Yeah.
I don't know.
Stoic Squirrel. I wouldn't know what that's like, being part of a live event online.
Right. Who likes live stuff anyway?
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Never heard of them. No, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm a producer. And so I know sometimes it's easier to do a bunch of things at once and then roll them out slowly.
Oh, no. I'm very familiar with that.
Bet you are.
Gang shooting and then rolling them out as needed. Actually, it's really weird with TV when you when certain things happen, you kind of guess why it happened. I was watching this music video, and I was like, "Oh, they probably inserted that scene in there because whoever shot it either lost that bit, didn't shoot it, or something happened to it, and they just needed to cover a jump cut or something." And so there they are.
As soon as you said the words gang shooting, a siren went off in my neighborhood.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
My goodness.
What's better than you saying you were reminded you have an appointment later or something like that?
Reminded me. I have an appointment with a guy who owes me money.
Yeah, a gang shooting may occur.
Or maybe
money, see?
Oh, I need to run upstairs because my lasagna might be burning and start a fire. And then you hear sirens.
See?
I used to get that way when I would leave like a slow cooker on at my apartment. Like every time I heard a siren, I just like, oh, is that my dinner? That's caused a fire. I know you're not supposed to catch fire, but you never know. Never know.
Cows fall from I-84 overpass onto southbound I-15 after semi-trailer rollover.
Oh no,
Dear.
that's horrible.
Jeez.
Save the cows.
A cattle truck. How many cows? And how they survived. The driver was not injured. Some of the cows didn't make it. Other cows were corralled by crews on the...
I'd be surprised if a cow survived.
About a dozen cows.
That magnitude.
Some of them made it.
Oh dear.
The other cows probably broke their fall.
They can just cook. You know, like don't waste that meat. Is all I'm saying.
What's your beef?
They normally don't. You'll notice if you go to the local butchers and they have a sale on ground beef. Fresh chuck.
What does that mean? The cow died tragically?
Well, ground beef is what you do with meat. If you can't get any decent cuts left, you just take it and make it into ground beef.
Got it.
It's like when you go to the supermarket and sometimes you'll see them sell a cake, but it's like two halves of two different cakes, right? Or a pie they sell that way, or they sell pies by the slice in the little shrink wrapped container. It's usually because the cake or pie originally didn't sell for some reason. It's getting either towards or at its shelf life, and they need to get rid of it, and so they repackage it. Supermarket secrets.
Well, somebody just wrote in and said, would have appreciated a Thanksgiving show since the rest of the world's still working.
What?
To which I say, we take very few holidays here. So try not to begrudge us this one. B, there also isn't a lot of tech news because so many companies are locally based. So it does slow down a little bit. We will do headlines for you. And C, maybe we'll just make Patrick do it this year. He doesn't celebrate things.
Yeah, he doesn't have Thanksgiving.
Doesn't have anything to be thankful for.
With a cheese plate and a scarf around his neck, he doesn't talk.
No, I mean that is an option though. We could just have non-US people. We'll think about that.
I don't think it's that people, expect us to be actually doing a show 365 days of the year. It's just like, well, that's not my holiday.
Yeah.
Right. It's a regular day, and now I don't get
when we do a holiday on a UK bank holiday, people in the UK are like, "Ooh, cool show today. That's awesome."
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Have a lovely Thursday and Friday, unless you're one of those oosins, as I call people in the United States of America. USA.
What is that?
USA.
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 Oh, Oosins. Got it. Mm-hmm.
Oosins. We'll be taking the day tomorrow to remember how the Pilgrims first played football with a turkey in the founding of America.
Yep. That's how I remember it.
Complicated holiday, really?
It really is. It's our holiday. Don't try to understand it. It's just it's an Oosin thing. We'll see you on Monday.